From Tacoma, Washington, this is the Off the Back Podcast. Hello and welcome to Off the Back Podcast. I'm Matt Bonjour.
And I'm Danny Clark.
This is our last episode of the season, end of the year.
Not sponsored by Delirium Tremens.
Oh man, Delirium, if you're ever looking for a small podcast that you want to sponsor to talk about your beer, we won't speak about the fact that I'm drinking out of a Trappist Rochefort glass and Danny's drinking out of a Saint Bernardus glass.
It's all right. It's all Belgian. It's all in good spirit.
But this is peak middle age, where you get to drink your favorite beer out of glasses labeled with your favorite beers.
Yes. Well, this is our last episode of the year. I feel like we need some sad music. But don't worry, we'll be back next year.
That's right.
Here comes all the jokes about...
see you next year.
See you next year. That's really the only joke, I guess. But it will be repeated many, many times.
Well, Danny, why don't you talk a little bit about what we're going to be talking about this year? And I'm going to go and stop my dryer from beeping for the next hour.
Oh, great. Well, while Matt's gone, I'll go ahead and set up this entire episode. Now, this year this episode we wanted to cover a little bit about how this year's gone and some of our favorite moments, as well as did want to touch on some cyclocross racing that's been happening.
Of course.
So, I don't know, cyclocross has some varying, what's the word? Merit amongst... You're going to spill your beer.
I'm good. Keep going.
I think has varying merit across different...
You mean different people appreciate it to different levels?
Yes.
You mean by the fact that, like, Kaylee Frett seems to continuously poo-poo cross?
Yeah. Well, and even, I like, without naming any names...
Like Kaylee?
Like, no, but I mean, I've talked to some like, other cycling friends and such, and they're just kind of like, meh, cyclocross, like, I should be into it, but I just didn't feel it this year, or, was just kind of tired of it, or went through the motion of racing, even though it was not really like my desire necessarily kind of deal. So, yeah, I think it's, we enjoy it. I enjoy it. It is, Kaylee Fretz of Velo Cycling Tips, Psycho Veling Tips, formerly of Velo News, now of Cycling Tips, just says that it's like limited to just a few countries and not really like a worldwide sport. So therefore it's less interesting. But you could argue that about almost any sport.
True. And he's not entirely wrong.
Like American football.
Or even like golf. You think about golf.
Or like curling.
There's like 3 nations that are like great at golf. But he's not wrong. But when you do have somebody that you resonate with that's from your nation or from your region that is doing well, it makes it all the more special. And you're able to like really engage in the racing, like for example with Clara Hunsinger, or for myself Tom Pidcock, having grown up in the UK. That means something to me.
You can lay claim to
I can
well, and like, I mean, Katie Compton
exactly
was so dominant too. Ellen Noble, yeah, I mean, we've had some fantastic women racers, men, not so much. I mean, it's like cheered on Jeremy Powers, but never really quite had the success in Europe that he did here. And even something we hope to maybe bring to the podcast is I guess I can say a friend of ours that we met, Tyler Cloutier, who is from Texas but now in Arkansas, and actually raced the last 2 races in Europe, self-supported, which is pretty rad. So, I think it's worth, cyclocross is worth talking about, and it's going to be even better coming up in the next few weeks, and we'll tell you a little about why. But so anyways, we like to spend most of the fall talking about cyclocross because we enjoy it, and hopefully it's at least something out there for our listeners to engage in, or perhaps even use our podcast as a means of getting a general lay of the land with the cyclocross races. So,
yeah. And dude, this last sort of 3 weeks or so has had some really great racing with the return of Wout, and then Voss kind of dropped in and kicked some ass for a couple of races. We saw some new winners that haven't won in a while or ever at all. So it's been, hopefully we won't spend 45 minutes on the cross recap, but it's been a good few weeks.
Well, and the other thing too is we are podcasting in the middle of the day for the first time,
it's
ever.
Super weird,
and it already feels odd. So we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, and I'm having a very strong beer now, and then going to hang out with friends, and I'm going to be bringing a strong beer with me.
Excellent.
And then my friend told me he has some South African drink that he wants to share with me. A South African Amarula. That's like an almond based drink, right?
I don't know, man. There's some crazy liqueurs from Africa that you got to be really careful with. I don't know if that's one of them.
I'll just have my wife drive me home, I think.
Excellent. Well, so yeah, normally I don't want to say soldered, but usually by the evening we're in full relax mode. Whereas right now it feels like something to get this podcast knocked out and move on to the rest of our day. But we won't treat it that way. The next hour is going to be lit.
Cheers to that.
Cheers. Okay, well, so I guess we have to... Ooh, nice ding. I think we have to start off with our usual, just to close out 2020, whatever year this is. And how's your weeks? We've had a few weeks off. Might as well give a little update.
I mean, biking wise, it's been relatively low key. Just a couple of Zwift sessions here and there. And that's basically it, really. Just continuing to kind of work on just general body fitness.
Yeah.
I will talk a little bit about sleep real quick.
You slept since the last time we podcasted?
I have slept.
Great.
The end. I was reading, I watched, it was a very quick kind of TikTok, and I know that there's many advice TikToks out there that are wrong / incorrect in their advice, but this one seemed like it made sense, and it was just some, I don't know if he was a chiropractor or some other like wizard.
That's same category.
Exactly. And just talking about kind of like sleeping habits and positive ones, and I tend to be very comfortable sleeping on my front, laying face down
on your stomach?
On my stomach. Yeah. And then I'll tend to kind of like kick one of my knees up so I sleep like...
That's the most awkward thing I've ever heard.
Kind of like that. And it just sort of, I don't know, it's just very comfortable for me. And even if I sleep on my side, I tend to have maybe like one knee higher up and then one knee kind of stretched out. It just sort of counterweights.
That's weird.
But his advice was, don't sleep on your front.
Yeah.
And if you sleep on your back, try and sleep straight. And even if I sleep on my back, I always have a knee kind of kicked out.
Yeah.
So every time I sleep, my right hip is like angled out, and I thought that would be good and helpful because it would stretch things out.
Yeah.
But this person of questionable repute,
the wizard,
was advising that try and keep straight or keep your knees together. And so for the past couple of weeks, if I've slept on my side, I've just been trying to keep my knees together. If I slept on my back, I've tried to sleep straight, and I've essentially not been sleeping on my front. Mainly because I end up sleeping like this, and then I wake up and I'm just
like your arm's dead,
and I feel like if you want to see what so to describe to those that are podcasting and not watching a video, sleep with my arms against my chest, sometimes flat down, and then my arms will go dead. But it feels like it's been helping with sort of like hip kind of feeling, because my right hip always feels a little weird. It always just feels a little off. So give that a go if you find yourselves experiencing similar things, try those sleeping positions out.
Great.
I don't necessarily know that I've been sleeping better, but I have felt a lot less kind of like achy feelings in the morning. So yeah. How about you? How was your week?
Well, since we're talking about sleeping, I don't know about other people in the world, but I'm convinced that the perfect pillow like does not exist. And it's really infuriating because I'll like visit a friend's house or go to a hotel or something and be like, "Oh my god, this is the best pillow in the world." And then I'll buy it.
And then it's terrible.
And then it's shit. And basically, like in our house is probably like a half a dozen or more pillows that I've like abandoned. All at like some significant
laying
cost.
There in the corner feeling sad.
So it's like purpose. I've tried down, I've tried like the synthetic, I've tried the chopped up foam, I've tried like the adjustable, like take the foam out to suit your preference pillow. I've tried a Casper pillow, just like some generic random ones, like the Amazon bestsellers. I've basically been through it all, and I cannot find a pillow that is suitable. And basically, I do sometimes end up on my stomach, but mostly back inside. And if I get a great pillow, I'll literally sleep on my back all night. And like, I also try to do like guided meditations throughout the day, just so I don't lose my shit as like a human. And so I've found myself more comfortable literally just laying like straight as a board with like my arms down by my side.
Do you find that you have to tuck your arms under your like legs or bottom? Really? No. I'd like tuck my arms because it kind of like holds them in place.
Oh, interesting.
And it makes me feel more comfortable and more relaxed.
Interesting. That's so wild.
I tuck.
That's weird. Oh, don't. Anyways, so
my arms.
Okay.
What do you think I'm talking about, you weirdo?
Okay. Anyway, so so I found myself comfortable, like literally just like perfectly straight with my arms down by my side. And if I really nail it, I'll literally wake up in the morning and I'll be like, "Oh my god, I didn't move the whole night."
Huh.
And it's super crazy, but
maybe you need, you know how like you swaddle babies, like you wrap them really tightly in a blanket? Maybe you need to like a really tight sleeping bag.
But as I'm getting older, that really inhibits the like wake up in the middle of the night and go pee.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Which
maybe you need to be swaddled with like a pee bag.
Oh gosh. Okay, this is all going downhill. So, in case you didn't know, this is a cycling/sleep therapy podcast, but
well, it's just general health, Danny. It's just general health.
This is all related to cycling. Just go with us.
It all connects. It's all about body and
stuff. So the interesting thing is I'd welcome any input on pillows.
I have a Calvin Klein one that I really like.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Does it smell like the fragrance like, from 1990?
Eternal.
Like CK1?
Yeah,
anyway, so yeah, interestingly, I feel as though I'm finally getting like in a good sleep pattern, but this pillow thing I still haven't quite worked out. So anyway, couple other things. I ordered the Whoop. So actually I was going to quit whooping. I was going to stop whooping. I actually had some frustrations with its readings. Which I think I've talked about on the episode. I do have pretty small wrists, just generally, but like, okay.
I don't know
but
what that means.
I was gonna cancel, and then I had some like, thanks to their clever marketing, some incentive to go with the Whoop 4.0. So I ordered it like 3 months ago, and whether I'm sure this wasn't intended, but it's kept me now on the hook even longer because the shipping was so delayed. And I'm actually due to receive the Whoop 4.0 tomorrow.
Ooh. Which
is supposed to be lighter, smaller, more accurate, and it measures blood oxygen saturation. So I think Matt and I have talked about how the Whoop has done so much for, well, at least I would say its biggest benefit was teaching me about good sleeping patterns.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm excited to get it and give that one a go and see if it maybe suits me better and gives some better accuracy and stuff. So that's coming up. And then I think I mentioned too, I purchased a Chinese open mold cyclocross frame. And so I'm slowly buying parts for it, and it's actually kind of exciting. I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos about painting bikes, and there's this one guy from Germany in particular that I think I may have mentioned this already before. It's been a few weeks for us since we chatted last, but really excited to like paint this frame and kind of build it out, but pretty stoked to build up this bike.
Have you taking a look at that kind of like rattle can brand?
Well, so there's a couple.
I did my first cross bike with one of those.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
the one that was probably stolen. So there's this.
I don't think that one was stolen.
So there's this German guy named his web page is Wow. Sorry to our listeners in Germany. It's called ETOE. So I don't know if that's his name or just what he decided to name his YouTube page, but he does a bunch of spray work. And then there's a brand from the US, Squid Bikes, that actually sells paint cans too. So,
but there's another brand also. I will keep talking. I'll find it.
You got it. So anyway, so that's been that. And then to Matt's point, I just like, we're in the Northwest.
Spray.bike.
Oh, there you go.
Spraybike.us. That's what I used. I just got a couple of cans and it worked super well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, lastly, as far as riding goes, we live in the Northwest and the weather has been miserable. The funny thing is I text my buddies in Texas and they're just like, they kind of like laugh and they're like, yeah, you live in the Northwest. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't understand. It's literally like the worst rain spell in history almost, I think.
It's like every single day. Yeah. Every day. Anyway.
So it's been pretty miserable out on the road. I'm a fair weather rider in general. I also ruined my body mountain biking, and I think, I've just hopped on Zwift a few times, and just kept it easy. Interestingly, last thing I'll say, I know I've been rambling quite a bit, but normally when I get on Zwift or the bike, in a general sense, I just like hammer.
Yeah.
And it's just a question of like, how much can I push it to the point of discomfort, to the point of where it's like unpleasant, and then I'll just like ride at that intensity. And I've hopped on Zwift a few times without that intention, and in fact the opposite intention of like I actually did like a customer service call that I needed to make for a thing I was dealing with while I was on my trainer.
Awesome.
Well, I didn't intend for it to happen this way. I thought it would be a quick
whirring
call,
in the background,
right? But I spent like 35 minutes on this phone call talking to this agent, and so obviously I had to manage my effort to where I wasn't like, excuse me. So it was actually nice because I just sat at like 160, 170 watts, like 120, 130 BPM, and like just sat and cruised and got off the bike and like felt great, which normally I get off the bike and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. So anyway, I think I'm taking it easy, taking this winter to just recalibrate a little bit. Been doing a lot of stretching, a lot of like yoga type stuff, and also if anyone who lives in the Northwest is going to do the Festive 500, like, kudos to you, because we're basically slated to not be above freezing for like the next 7 to 10 days.
Yeah, I mean, if there was any year for me to do it, it would be this year.
Yeah, and beginning I think the day after tomorrow, it's going to be between 11 and 25 degrees for like the next 4 or 5 days.
No.
Yeah, good luck.
And I definitely don't want to do that indoors because that sounds terrible.
Yeah. So,
dude, minus 12 Celsius next week.
Yep. So cover all your hose bibs and any frozen water, any water outside. Make sure it's drained.
Yeah, I got to do that.
Anyway, homeowner type thing.
Time to keep the hot tub running.
So I know it's been I've just been babbling, but that's been it. How long has it been?
We're at 22 minutes.
Okay, sorry,
let's talk about some cross.
Well, so there's been some pretty awesome cyclocross races.
This is true.
The last few weeks, as Matt mentioned at the top of the episode,
we've had a few World Cups take place. We had one Essen Cross? No, Ethias Cross.
Yeah.
Which is weird that they don't have a series and because nobody turns up. But those are races are really interesting because typically it allows unlikely riders to win. Like, for example, Anna Kay won one of the Ethias Crosses. Wout's first race back was an Ethias Cross at Robotland, and he, of course, dominated. Won that puppy. But anyway, go on. Well,
no, that's great. I mean, cross has become really exciting. Again, we talked about kind of the mixed reviews that some choose to have towards cyclocross, but yeah, I mean, we saw Wout race fantastically. The men's races, have honestly kind of seen, I don't want to say the demise, but maybe the exploitation of Ellie Iserbit. There's been several racers who have bested him over these last few weeks. In fact, he had I think his worst finish of the year, our lowest place finish of the year was like 5th
at Namur.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. So it's for those following the season. There's been definitely some changing of the guard, if you will. And then for the women's side, we've seen some fantastic racing too. Some pretty hotly contested races, which we can talk about a little bit here. But yeah, it's been really fun. It's been really exciting. Every race seems to be, I would say of all the years watching cyclocross, this year has probably been the most unexpected racing. Like, every race has had some just very unexpected outcome. There's been a couple that were a little drab, but most of them have been pretty.
Some of the
exciting
ones where I think Lucinda Brand has been MVDPing.
Yeah.
A lot of the races, and those are the ones that you're like, oh, okay, great. So she's going to win. But then the race for second or third place ends up being really interesting. Like, for example, the one that Magali Rochette came in second, that I think we talked about on our last episode.
Yeah.
We saw Voss coming back at Rookven and beating Brand literally at the last corner, sprinting for the win. That was amazing. We talked a little bit about Wout coming back. So he won at Robotland. He won at Boom. It's just spelled Boom. And then also won the Snowy World Cup at Val di Sole in Italy, which was intended to be kind of a demonstration race for cyclocross to be introduced as an Olympic sport, which whatever people are saying, however people are poo-pooing that idea, it's a winter sport, whether it happens on snow or not. Right. And if we can get it at the Olympics, awesome. Love it.
Yeah.
Happy to see that happen.
Well, in most Winter Olympics, I mean, some of them take place in, like, they had like Park City, right? Or we've had some that were in places that are just inevitably probably going to be covered in snow, even if you're not in the mountains. But
are we talking about Olympics or cross
Olympics
races? Okay.
Well, but I'm just saying, like, I think most Winter Olympic host cities will still have some area close enough by that it doesn't have to be on snow.
Right, but it has to be a snow/ice sport to be included in the Winter Olympics.
Oh,
which to me is
just get a snowblower and put it on the flyover.
I was thinking a little bit about this. Like, isn't that basically just kind of like sort of like white people Olympics?
Okay.
Because think of, I mean, so you've got South America, so obviously you've got the Andes that run down South America, and you have some snow in.
This is probably going the wrong direction.
Do you have snow in Africa?
Well,
maybe Kilimanjaro, like some of the tallest mountains.
I mean, that's why there's a whole movie about the Jamaican bobsled team. It's like,
but it just
the paradox.
It just stood out to me as just kind of like, wow, this is the most like white privilege sporting event I can think of. Anyway, so
well, I mean, okay, so
that's exciting. Let's see if that happens. A couple of other cool results. We talked about in the Val di Sole, we had Fem van Empel, the under-23 world champion, winning that race in like really amazing way. Just kind of got off the front, stayed off the front for a long time, was eventually in the last lap reeled in by Marianne Vos, and then Vos kind of took the second to last corner, I think poorly is a fair description, ended up catching her arm on one of the corner posts and was then taken out. There was an like, if you can just watch that last corner, because it's interesting to watch them kind of figure out how they're going to sort of move forward from that situation, because Fem just kind of is stuck behind her and can't really get around her, and so just sort of has to wait. And then obviously because Fem hadn't crashed, she just had more momentum and was unable to win that race. So that was great to watch. And then at the Rookfen race where Vos did win, we had Pidcock bunny hopping his way to victory, where he reeled in Isabit in the last lap, and the reason I say bunny hopped is that he just essentially the planks were immediately before the finishing straight, and so he just rolled over them much faster than Isabit did and was able to take that win, which was awesome. And then of course Michael Van Turnhout winning at the legendary Namur, which may be my favorite cross race. Is it? Maybe it's not. I think Zonhoven is. But anyway.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I mean, a couple things back to Marianne Vos, like that was one of those races where
the Val di Sole one,
where it's just like, I mean, you're watching it and you're literally just like, oh my gosh, like. I mean, she was down, what, like... It's
like 30
seconds or something.
Easily.
And, like, within a couple laps, just brought it all back. So that one was just incredible. And, like, when she crashed in that post, I literally, like, jumped off the couch. Which, there's only been a few moments of that.
Were you rooting for Vos at that point?
Well, I mean, I was excited for Vos, but it was just the tragedy of the race that she like had worked her way all the way back and was like had the line and just like was a centimeter or two off, and caught her shoulder, which by the way, she has very narrow shoulders, so she had the advantage. But yeah, so that was just one of those races where, I mean, Marianne Vos like is arguably one of the best cyclists of all time. I don't even know if you could argue it.
I don't know if you can.
I think pretty much she is. And so, yeah, it was kind of one of those moments in time where you're just like, wow, she earned that win and lost it by, that one moment of chaos.
I was so happy though to see Femme take a win, and I think with just how consistent she was riding on that course, like I really wanted her to take the win.
Right.
And when she was being reeled in, I was not wanting that to happen. But crazy way to lose a win.
Well, and two, so Wout coming back, I mean, I can't remember if we touched on this the other week, but I think in like the 3 races he raced, I'd read that he, like in the 3 races he raced and won, he had amassed over 3 races like a 5.5 minute lead over like the cumulative time of the other racers, which is like, that's insane.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing, I did want to touch on this. I no harm intended, but I've kind of maybe come to maybe not like Ellie Iserbit much. Every time I hear him in an interview and seeing him race and stuff, there's just this like bit of smug like cockiness to him, which I think can be like a superpower in a competitive sport, but it's just so anyway. Audrey Vanderpool, Matthew Vanderpool's dad, had said something of like, well, if these guys had all been out racing on the road, they'd be in better shape for cross. Like, as case in point is Wout coming in and just like like silly slapping everyone in the face, and Ellie Iserbit's like cool, we all race like Pro Conti, thank you very much, like why don't you get your facts straight? And it's,
well, it is true. They do.
It is true, and
they all race for the Intermarché team, I think.
Yeah, so I don't know. And then there's a couple other comments, but the short of it is like, Wout's dominance was pretty astounding. And then I will say Matthew Van Turnout's win at Namur was pretty amazing. I was actually disappointed to see Pidcock lose that one, but I think he was like clawing back and then just had 2 crashes in the race that like he just, I think mentally was like, I'm screwed.
Well, and he said he was spent from Rookfen as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he was so happy, like Van Turnout was so happy to win that race, and it was one of those races where clearly the best rider on the day won.
Yeah.
Like he had every section just dialed, made no mistakes, except, I think every cross racer on a course that challenging will make a mistake. But so any mistakes that he did make were minor. He had the best line on some of those, that little descent right before the cobbled climb, where, some people were running, some people were kind of taking a line down the middle with a sort of peg leg, and then some people were taking that right line right along the fence. Like, he rode that consistently almost every single lap.
And I heard somebody say about Namur that it's one of the few courses that you're racing against the course, not the other racers. And it's like, if you race your best race against the course, like that's going to put you in the best chance to win, not racing against other riders. So it really is a great race in that regard. Can
I talk about the women's side real quick? So Lucinda Brand essentially like kind of just sealed the women's race for all time with her 4th win in a row, which is just mental. And she even celebrated that on the finish line. And it's crazy to think that that's the 4th win in a row, even though only over the last couple of years has her sort of technical abilities really been dialed.
Right.
Whereas the first couple of years, she was kind of all over the place, and I think it was just her sheer strength and willpower that helped her win. So that was a really, really impressive win.
Well,
and a great battle for 2nd and 3rd place as well.
And that's the interesting thing about Lucinda Brand is that arguably she's not the most eloquent rider. like
elegant. Eloquent is about
elegant
word usage.
Yeah, she's very inept at speaking. No, she elegant. She is a bit of a brute force. We've talked about this at times on the podcast, where she races in a way that's like kind of a sledgehammer, and a lot of other riders will ride other sections better and smoother and like truer to the line. And so not like a knock on her, but she does race kind of more clumsily, if that's the right way to state that. And so it's interesting seeing, like, arguably Betsema is a pretty smooth rider. Mariana Vos is an incredibly powerful rider, and Brand is just kind of like a brute force between the two.
Yeah.
So it's interesting watching just watching them race and seeing how those dynamics kind of play out from course to course. But, you know, she's deservedly won handedly in several of these races, and it's great to see her win. Last thing, and maybe we'll see, we don't always plan these out so well, is Hansinger winning the US Nats.
What, 3-minute gap?
Oh gosh,
something crazy.
Yeah, she just got to the front and just put the power down, and it was a great course for her. Lots of climbing. You know, her best performance this year was Koppenberg, where there's some pretty like intense high power efforts, which she again dominates at. Heavy course, heavy mud. The looks of the course, it looks like a very tacky mud, like a very thick, heavy mud, which again she does well in.
3 minutes and 16.
Yeah. So, and the crazy thing is, and I said this to Matt, was like, Clara looks so good and she raced so good, and it was cool that she got to race in the Stars and Stripes, which is a newer privilege this year, I guess. But the crazy thing is, and she's spoken up about having some lackluster performances in Europe. You know, she's finishing usually around top 10, top 12-ish, about a minute and a half back, but she loses that minute and a half in the first lap, like almost every race.
Yeah.
In fact, at Namur, she was at one point in like 30th.
Yeah.
And she still finished I think like 11th.
Yeah. And
she finished about a minute and a half down. And at one point, I mean, she was like way behind the leader. So, you know, actually very similar to Katie Compton in the racing style of just being like this huge diesel engine. But yeah, the fact that she won US Nats by 3 minutes plus and is finishing in Europe a minute and a half to a minute 40 down is like, could you imagine like a Lucinda Brand or a Denise Betsema who were to race in US, like, and that's the same for J Pow and Stephen Hyde. Like they finish in like the top 20s in Europe, you know, and it's, you know, it's just crazy to think how fast the Belgian and Dutch riders, which make up the predominant like front end of these races, both men's and women's, I mean, they're just on another level. Anyway, it just always blows my mind. Yeah, literally. Well, there's a weird resonance when I speak up.
I think it just happened.
Also, I saw on TikTok this guy who like could hum the harmonic resonance of a room and like made this weird echo.
Oh,
TikTok's fascinating.
Should we try that now? Just take a...
I don't think
we could just leave everything running and we could just try it. Well, and we have done some rearranging down here. So I brought my upstairs TV downstairs. You know, I was thinking maybe next episode we should have some like a race going on in the background.
Or we could do like a slideshow that matches our content, like on GCN.
That would mean we'd have to be actually
playing everything.
A little bit more planful. But we do have a futon between us and the camera, and I'm hoping that the futon is going to be very sound absorbent and is going to really help kind of deaden some of the sound.
Yeah.
But we wanted to, given that it is our last pod of the year, talk about some of our favorite racing moments of the year, and we each are going to share 3. Do you have one ready, or would you like me to kick off, Danny?
Well, I will start with.
I have 5 that I've selected,
okay,
so I'm hoping that you're going to pick one of mine, so that way I can.
Well, I'll touch on a couple.
Okay. Well, do one at a time. You do one, and then I'll do one, and then we'll go back and forth.
Well, I don't want to make this a highlight, but I do want to mention it. I don't want to make it.
You can't. You have to pick it as a highlight.
Favorite. This isn't a favorite. This is a low light.
It's a low light,
but I feel like it deserves mentioning.
Okay,
Look, let me go with this one.
Just go with it. I'll
so the whole Opie Umi crash sign at the Tour de France, was not a favorite moment. Clearly, because it was a shit moment.
Terrible.
But it was one of those that stands out in some way, in the sense that, like, spectators need to chill the fuck out. Okay, like, I'll just say it and get it over with. I do want to say, though, that in the ways I found it funny was we here in the Northwest had a cyclocross race on Halloween. And, like, if cyclocross already doesn't take itself seriously enough at times, Halloween is even more so of a reason for racers not to take themselves seriously. And so somebody humorously had brought their dog, and their dog was dressed in a raincoat, and their dog was also dressed in a raincoat with a sign around its neck, and the sign was the Opie Umi.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And so anyway,
no way.
Yeah, it was,
I did not see that.
It was at the Stellacum race.
Oh, that's great.
It's just funny. Like, I bring it up just. I mean, maybe it's not something to make light of, but it's just one of those iconic, tragic moments in cycling where it's like, stop being a shithead and pay attention to what's happening in the race, and don't ruin it for everybody. So, anyway, just a funny moment to think to dress up your dog as the lady with the sign. But to make a favorite moment out of this, in Tour de France, for me, I think would have to be Wout on the double Ventoux summit, which is like one of those moments in cycling where, you know, I think Peter Sagan was one who caught my attention early on when I started watching cycling, just to think like, oh my gosh, this guy can win any race. And by any race, I mean mostly sprints, or mostly like technical finishes.
Yeah, it's true.
But Wout proved that he literally can win any race, which he obviously had some, like, one I'm always mispronounce it. Go ahead.
The Champs-Élysées. Oh god. It's the beer. Champs-Élysées.
Thank you. I always
Champs-Élysées.
I always say
Champs-Élysées.
But he's proven that he can win sprint stages. He's proven he can win technical finishes. But freaking double Ventoux summit was like, I was literally like,
time trials too.
Time trials. Not to mention the time trial that almost like ended his cycling career. But I'm just like, dude, like I was watching that, just being like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe that he's in a Grand Tour, like former cyclocross world champ, like riding technically in support of a teammate who is a yellow jersey contender, already won stages, and is freaking out climbing some of the best climbers in the world. Like,
it's mental.
Anyway,
mental.
To me, that was just one of those moments where, and you know, obviously there's like the Wout and Mathieu van der Poel kind of competition, but Mathieu van der Poel can't do that. Like, he just can't.
No. I mean, he's not really he has one time. I think few months back, we saw that he won a time trial like 3 years ago or something like that.
And Mathieu van der Poel, this is never to take away anything from MVDP, but I mean, he's had his own mind-blowing moments, but he certainly is not going to compete on a climb the same way Wout's just a different build and a different body type, where he's a little lighter, maybe a little more what is it, pounds to kilo, watts to kilo, pounds to weight ratio. But anyway, yeah, that was a moment for me where I was just like, oh my gosh, dude, this is absolutely insane. So it just one of those things where I'm sure decades from now, Wout will go down for that race and that stage. So
nice. Well, my first favorite racing moment of the year has to be stage 11 of the Giro, and this is probably my favorite moment of the year in its totality. This was the sort of Strada Bianchi stage of the Giro d'Italia, where we saw Bernal, who was defending his pink jersey, Maglia Rosa, and had Filippo Ganna riding at the front at the first sort of sector of gravel and just kind of tearing the race apart with Egan Bernal on his wheel, just essentially hanging on for dear life. Yeah. Egan ended up winning that stage. I'm not sure if that's really true, but he ended up...
It's good for the story. Just keep going.
He ended up consolidating his lead because he attacked... hold on, I got to find out about stage 11. He consolidated... No, okay, so it was Schmidt who won that. But Egan Bernal ended up consolidating his lead against the favorites by probably 20 plus seconds.
Yeah.
And it was just so good to see him just kind of dominating, and I can still, it's like one of those things where if I close my eyes, I can still just see Filippo Ganna just kind of tearing up the gravel.
Yeah.
And dude, that race, I was just fascinated. You had the controversy with what's his face?
This is going well. This is why we should put down slides.
The De Koenig Quick-Step youngster, what's his name?
Remco
Evenepoel, that's it. And then the whole like Evenepoel controversy. I don't know. It was just a great stage. Definitely one of my most memorable moments of the year. What about you? What's your second?
I think maybe for the sake of time and efficiency here is it looks like Matt had also noted Cavendish taking those 4-stage wins at the Tour, which, oh man, like that was just another one of those epic moments where he 2 years ago raced what he thought was his last professional race, was like in tears at the finish, and thought he was done, and frankly had some pretty poor performances by his own standard, right? Of like just kind of being a blip on the radar for finishes, and was able to link up with De Koenig, who's, by the way, now a title sponsor for a different team, thankfully.
No, not even title sponsor.
Oh, great.
That's the crazy thing.
Well, good.
They'll be on the jersey.
Okay, great. I hate saying that name. Anyways, but yeah, for him to take those 4 wins in the Tour, I mean, arguably, I hate using that word. It's been used multiple times in this podcast, but probably one of the best lead-out trains, maybe of all time.
Yeah,
I mean, I was watching a little YouTube.
Merku
video
is arguably one of the best lead-out men in all time.
Well, and I was watching, I think maybe it was the Lanterne Rouge YouTube channel the other day, but basically every lead-out, they kind of did this little segment where it was like every lead-out person, they'd like pause when they would peel off their lead-out and like give kind of like a rundown of each rider, and each rider had the pedigree to like win a race. And so it's not to take away from Cav, but obviously that tactic in the sport of cycling is what wins sprints, and he's not the only rider to take advantage of that lead out, but that lead out puts pressure on everybody else to have to fight for themselves. And the fact that Cav won so many stages was just, it was awesome. And, he's just a rider who has both the grit and determination, and like still carries himself with a bit of humility in a way that's like, I'm going to go out there and fucking win. And if I lose, like the better rider won, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just a cool, he just seems like such a cool dude. And two, by the way, I don't want to go too far down this, but like his home invasion. And like,
oh, bro.
What the heck, dude? There was news. If you haven't heard, his home was invaded and his family held at like knife point while people like ransacked his house. And it's like, dude, anyway. It's just a bummer.
Not cool, dudes. Not cool.
But anyway, I know Matt had also mentioned that. Is there anything you want to talk about on Cav?
No, man. It was just super exciting just to kind of go through. Yes, so there is.
Okay, go on.
It was just really fun to kind of go through the tour, and each stage he was just getting closer and closer to Merckx's record.
Yeah.
And that was just so exciting. And then the day that he matched it was like, it was just me jumping up and down in my living room. Like, I was so amped to see him win. And it just felt like I was watching bike racing from 5 years ago again. It was just epic.
Yeah.
My second favorite moment of the year, or my second example of a favorite moment of the year.
There you go.
I would say is seeing Clara Honsinger winning Koppenberg Cross. And just beating old Betzemer, who, anyway, we can talk about Betzemer a bit more next time, but my opinion of her is shifting a little bit, but I don't think she's the bad guy like Moscon. She's not the Moscon of the women's cross.
Yeah.
But anyway, just seeing her battle on those downhills and then just kind of dominate the uphills. Winning her first, European cross race. It was just super exciting just to kind of feel that representation and to feel that connection to a racer that we watched win the Nats in 2019. That meant a lot to me. That was really fun.
Well, I'm gonna double down and do a twofer. So,
dude, you just changing the rules.
Well,
like last
I'm
minute.
also trying to be I'm trying to be efficient here because you need to go to your buddy's house. This is what happens.
No, it's okay. I have time. Okay. I don't have to leave until after.
Well,
5.
I'm still gonna double down just to make this efficient. Is the U.S. women or not the U.S. women's? Got good grief. The Olympic women's road race.
Oh,
where the Swiss rider Anna
Austrian.
Oh, I'm sorry, Austrian. Sorry, forgive me. The country of Switzerland
you just
and Austria.
saw a red jersey.
No, don't judge me. I'm sorry, Austrian rider Anna Keinzenhofer. Did I get that right?
I think so. I don't know.
Whatever. Anyway. The interesting thing about the women's road race is the women don't. Well, for any Olympic road races, there's no radios, and so the team communication can get a bit, disjointed, if you will. And essentially, this working professional she does race, but non like. Not a professional rider in the sense of who she was contending against with the Dutch women, went off the front and managed to hold a minute and a half lead to the finish, which defeated the Dutch team of Marianne Vos and many others who arguably are some of the best women riders on the planet.
Inarguably.
And it was just one of those moments in cycling and in Olympic sport where it's kind of the underdog, sort of takes the win and defeats the big bad evil, which is the Dutch cycling squad, which again deserve the accolades they have, but simultaneously have been so dominant in women's road racing. And so it was just kind of one of those moments where there's a slight miscalculation, it seems, on the Dutch rider's side where they didn't know she had gotten away.
Mm-hmm.
And so they raced thinking that they had the lead, and it turned out that they didn't by quite a margin. So it was just one of those moments where, again, it's kind of that underdog story of the surprise victory for
Yeah, it was fun
for her. And then 2, and this is my double down, would be Lizzie Deignan winning Roubaix, which, former world champ, took a break from cycling to be a mom, which is super rad, and has returned to the sport. And the fact that she, again, kind of, this was the first year of the women's Roubaix, and just laid down that dominant performance again. Perhaps a bit of an underdog in the sense of, she's definitely had some great road races this year, but wasn't maybe the favorite. And then 2, if you didn't see it, she reached the finish line in true Roubaix fashion with literally blood streaming all over the handlebars, which is kind of gross. But it's just one of those races where she raced with such passion and ferocity and fervor, in the sense that she just went off the front, got the lead, took it to the finish, finished bloodied and bruised, but deservedly will go down as the first women winner of the women's Roubaix. So
awesome.
That was just a cool race too to watch. Yeah. I don't know. Those are my last ones. So
cool.
What about you, man?
I think my final one is actually a moment that I have as my wallpaper on my iPhone, which is Mathieu van der Poel's attack on one of the sort of last gravel climbs in Strade Bianche.
Yeah.
And just kind of seeing his Watt bomb, if you will. Being just dropping everyone, including world champion Alaphilippe, and then of course he went on to win that race. Just seeing him do that attack, and that was another kind of one of those finger slap moments.
Yeah,
this is what I love about racing. This is my favorite stuff. This is why I tune in and get up at 5 a.m. so that I can watch this stuff. It was really fun, and of course seeing him win that race just sealed the deal. So
pretty
good.
Mental.
Yeah.
I still can't get over MVDP's Watt bombs.
Yeah.
Good grief.
And one of the just to throw out there, one of the things I've been trying to buy has been a flat brim Alpecin Phoenix hat.
Oh yeah.
That he wears on the podium at the end of the races, and the only one that I can find is a reasonably priced, but it's $85 to have it shipped to me, and so it ends up being $115.
It's totally
cap.
worth it.
Yeah,
I had no idea there was an American on the Alpecin
there is.
Phoenix.
Yeah, Edward Anderson. But dude, they have a great team next year. Laurens de Vries, Sylvain Dillier, Marcel Meisen, Tim Merlier, Sasha Modelo, Jasper Philipsen, Edward Blankart, and of course the MVDP, Ben Tullett, Peter Vakoc. It's going to be interesting to see what they can do next year.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, good thing they have that caffeinated shampoo to keep them fresh. Well, there's a couple last little bits. If you don't like cyclocross and you've made it this far into the episode, suck it up and tune into the telly for now. Sad news. 2 out of 3 races that had been scheduled for Mathieu van der Poel, Wout van Aert, and Tom Pidcock to be contending against each other and the rest of the field was so the day after Boxing Day, right? Just
yeah, I don't know. Does that day have a name?
I don't know. Dendermonde. So the cyclocross race in Dendermonde will be the first time that we see the three racing together. Mathieu van der Poel had been on a quote-unquote casual ride with a friend and supposedly fallen and injured his knee in some gravel.
Doesn't sound very casual.
I wonder what that looks like. Casual ride with Mathieu van der Poel. Anyway, so he has been both battling back a back injury from the Olympic mountain bike race and now a knee injury from this casual ride with a friend, but he is slated to return on the 26th in Dendermonde. Did you see what I did there? 26th.
Oh, nice.
Accidentally. Sorry, Americans.
Yeah. Love it.
And then it looks like our worst fears have come true, that because of this flippin' Omicron garbage, and sorry to anybody who may be impacted by it, it's directed at the virus, not at you personally, is the Diegem race, which was supposed to be the second race of Pidcock, Mathieu van der Poel, and Pidcock has been canceled as of about 12 hours ago per our recording, due to having to pull the Belgian mandate that no fans would be allowed in attendance, but the operators of the event decided financially it wasn't viable if they couldn't sell tickets, so they canceled the race, which is a real frustrating piece of suck. But so it was supposed to be 3 races of Mathieu van der Poel, Wout, and Pidcock, and we are now down to 2. So Dendermonde the 26th and Hulst on January 2nd. So if ever you wanted to dabble in cyclocross, dabble now, because these are going to be fun races to watch.
Oh, yeah. Boxing Day, here we come.
Yep. Don't text me for login to Flow Sports or GCN Race Network, because that's the only way to watch.
Just as a final thought, we talked a little bit about the whole kind of Belgium-Dutch domination of cross. I think that's going to change because pro cross has never been easier to watch.
Yeah.
Which means that it's also reaching audiences that have never consistently been able to watch it, which means that kids around the world are waking up with their mom or dad watching cross in the morning or in the afternoon. And I think that can only be a good thing.
You did
for cross. That it will just continue to be international. We had three World Cups in the US. We have the World Championships happening in the US. There's only good.
Well, and also as a reminder, stay tuned to Off the Back podcast, because we will be bringing you the Cyclocross Worlds live and in person podcast.
That's true. Although it's going to be really hard not to just fanboy the whole time.
Well, who knows? Maybe. I mean, honestly, I'm kind of worried what's it going to look like with this whole Omicron in Arkansas, because we already bought airfare and
but dude, it's in a month and a half from now. I'm sure we'll be fine.
Yeah, that's what they always say.
Just over a month and a week.
This will be gone in a few weeks.
Well, let's wrap it up. Thanks for listening. It's been a pleasure.
You can reach out to us at offthebackpodcast@gmail.com. And we appreciate everyone tuning in. We know podcasts are maybe a little bit more difficult to listen to in this day and age if you're not commuting or getting time away from your life and activities. So if you stuck with us this long, thank you for spending some time with us. And tune into us next week. Give us a like. You can also, we've been posting these videos to YouTube if you want some visual stimulus to go along with the audio. So you can look us up at Off the Back Podcast, all one word, on YouTube as well.
Cheers.
Cheers. I need to sync the video.
Okay. Oh,
that was a good one. Suck it, Trebek.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Okay, stop doing that.